Delana, in this session, we are going to discuss on watershed management and sustainable development. We have looked into, in the previous session, the basic of watershed, its characteristic, watershed management in its approach. In this session, we are going to touch upon first when we talk about watershed management sustainable development, we will look into the watershed management system in India. Then we will come to watershed management sustainable development and watershed management agenda 21 relation and how watershed management can be linked into sustainable development goals. You will see this is a watershed. As mentioned in the last session, watershed management is characterized by a variety of interrelationship between productivity, conservation and poverty alleviation in the use of natural resources. So, in developing countries like India, the watershed management or watershed project focus on water harvesting and soil conservation. And typically, it has three main objectives. They are to conserve and strengthen the natural resource base, to make natural resource based activities like agriculture more productive, and to support rural livelihoods to alleviate poverty. In brief, conservation and strengthening the technology of natural resource use make resources more productive and improve the rural livelihood. Ecologically, this watershed management will protect the quality of the local ecosystem in general. Here in this table, you will find out the chronology of government watershed development program and guidelines in India. In 1973-74, our watershed management approach was started with the program of drought-prone area programs. 1973-74 means 70s. In 70s, you will find out those programs which is highly related with drought-prone area development program, desert development program, with a major objective in promote economic development and mainstreaming of drought-prone areas through soil and moisture conservation measures, like minimize adverse effect of drought desertification through reforestation. Here we will find out that in that time, Ministry of Rural Development take important roles in implementing sustainable watershed development programs. In early 90s, end of 80s, you will find out integrated watershed development program. That's also coordinated by most of the institution under the Ministry of Rural Development. In 1989, we will find we have seen that integrated afforestation eco-development scheme with an objective restore and regenerate the ecological balance of degraded forests on a watershed basis using a participatory approach. Suddenly here 1999 you will find out the participatory approach started to use effectively. That is followed by 1990-91 National Watershed Development Project for rain-fed areas, and 1992, and we have foreign funding. Then our objective of watershed management was rehabilitation of micro watershed for the purpose of regeneration of natural resources and sustainable livelihood using a participatory approach. And 94, watershed development guidelines was prepared by Ministry of Rural Development that focuses on common guidelines for watershed sustainable watershed development for a different on the watershed scale and having a participatory focus. Then 1999 to 200, 2000, 99 to 2000, you will find out Ministry of Agriculture, and then NABARD, they also with an objective of financial support to scale up successful participatory watershed development project in 100 priority districts, promote a more unified strategy to watershed development program. Here, a very interesting thing is 1999 to 209, around the end of the last century. We are focusing on effective implementation of those success models in other part of the country. So, in that way, by 2006, you will find out National Rainfed Authority create with an objective of to create common guidelines for all watershed sustainable watershed development schemes under the different ministries for development of rainfed farming. They have that was working under planning commission. Then if you look into latest one 2013, that new features to the 2008 common guidelines, that is to ensure momentum to integrated watershed management program while strengthening its innovative features was added in addition to 2008 common guidelines for watershed development. This is how our government watershed development programs and guidelines was evolved since 1970s to this decade, to 2013. This is a summary table on that. And if we look into the success stories of watershed management in India, and based on the available review of literacy, we will find out that the widely acclaimed success models of those watershed management projects are Sukhomaziri in Haryana, Relgaon city in Maharashtra, and Pani Panchayat, which was happened in 1970s. They were successfully in turning dry wasteland productive lands, dry wasteland to productive lands by linking soil conservation and water harvesting. When India was following that sectoral approach of watershed management. So, the innovative village level institution mechanism in sharing the cost and the benefit within the community were demonstrated by two important models, that is Sukhomaziri and the Pani Panchayat. So, following the success of these three models, a large-scale watershed development program was taken up in 1980s across the country, with a focus to alleviate poverty, adopting technology that was used in successful models. That's also you have it was reflected in that table, which I mentioned before. However, when we look into those models, the top-down approaches emphasize more on technology and relatively little on development of local knowledge and the management abilities and capacity building. This program largely ignored the village-level institutional arrangement and community participation, and actually had only involvement of one or two key people from the village. As a result, most of these projects gave little or no benefit in long run. I am talking about not the three successful model, other programs of watershed management during that time. So, this consistent unsatisfactory result from these projects led to shifting more attention to increasing local participation, increased use of local technologies, increased conservation efforts during 1990s. Although the government of India stepped up with new and changed policies during 1990s, it was reflected in that particular summary. The program was recognized by the Ministry of Agriculture only in 2000. The new policies devolved forward, promoted local technique, and also recognized non-governmental organization as implementing partner. Under the new guidelines, as many as 10,000 watershed projects under drought-prone area (DPAP) were launched across the country after 1995, and those programs create higher crop yield, increased crop intensity, increase in employment and stability, and reduce immigration. That is about how watershed management was evolved in India. Then let us have a quick look into what is the relation between watershed management and sustainable development. When we talk about watershed management and sustainable development, Agenda 21 is one of the important policy documents approved by the UN Conference on Environment Development in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. So, this Agenda 21 is an essential guidelines for sustainable development policy and practice. And among those guidelines, watershed management issue is one of those guidelines provided in Agenda 21. The Chapter 13 of the document extensively focuses on sustainable mountain development, which includes program area on promoting integrated watershed development and alternative livelihood opportunities. And this establishes a framework for linking the development of appropriate land use planning and management for both arable and non-arable land in order to prevent soil erosion, increase biomass production, and maintain the ecological balance. The promotion of alternative income generating activities such as sustainable tourism and fisheries and environmentally sound mining also. The improvement of infrastructure and social services in mountain areas in order to protect the livelihood of local communities and indigenous people. Mitigation of the effects of natural disasters related to poor watershed management through hazard prevention measures, risk zoning, early warning system, evacuation plans and emergency supplies. This Agenda 21 also stresses that successful watershed management must be based on local stakeholders, informed participation in natural resource management, economic growth, and social change. Agenda 21 play an important role in adoption of an integrated and participatory approach to conservation and development. It also incorporated the views of economists and social scientists in watershed management, help ecologists and foresters to understand local livelihood systems and recognize the validity of some indigenous solutions to site-specific problems. Improve communication and collaboration among planners and local people, and increase participatory watershed management. A large number of watershed management projects and programs which were implemented all over the world by different organizations and stakeholders, most of those watershed management programs follow integrated and participatory approaches. So, in the post 1992, after Agenda 21 guidelines, you will see a number of watershed management institutions were increasingly involved in global events that follow the Rio Conference, the World Summit on Sustainable Development, the International Year of Mountains and Freshwater, etc. When we look into the impacts of watershed management, especially across South Asia, in this you will find out that in country was, if you look into Afghanistan, it improved vegetative cover and number of tree species. Economically, it improved availability of fodder. Likewise, if you look from social institutional perspective, you will find out the watershed is community managed grazing area, social fencing. In case of Bangladesh, we will find out creation of village community forest. Then in India, if you look into from natural resources perspective, the impact of watershed management is it improves in the resource base, especially groundwater, increased moisture availability and reduction in soil erosion. And economically, it gives positive benefit, increase in net income and employment. From social and institutional perspective, you will find out it strengthens participatory institution, improve gender participation. If you look overall impact in terms of magnitude, you will find out because of this watershed management practice or watershed management program, it has a good impact on natural, social, finance and economic capitals, right. So, you can find out in case of Nepal also that checks this particular impact watershed management gives positive impact on natural resources, economic, social and institutional resources. So, you will hear sacking forest degradation, soil erosion, siltation, decline, vegetation cover, improve. These are very common, these impact are very common, and what we can say in one sentence is that effective watershed management bring a positive impact on natural capital, economic capital, social and institutional capital. Then if we look that watershed management, how it is related, whether it is related to Sustainable Development Goals that have 17 goals. Let us a quick look into that. When we talk about end poverty in all its forms everywhere, if you look into the positive impact of effective watershed management, you will find out it gives a livelihood. When you talk about giving the livelihood, having the positive impact on the society in terms of natural capital, in terms of social capital, in terms of economic capital, of course, if you have a effective watershed management, this will give a way to end poverty in all its form, to end hunger. That is goal number 2. If we have effective implementation of watershed management, we will give food security, give nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. When we talk about goal number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. So when we have effective watershed management program, it has a positive impact into the natural capital. That means a good environment. Good environment is related to your good health. That also directly related to your production, nutrition food, food security, and other component. Education, when you talk about education, quality education, goal number 4, when your livelihood is improved, your health is good because of effective implementation of watershed management. Of course, those poor, those people will be able to send their children to the education, to the school, achieve gender equality, empower women and girls. Now, well, your health and well is good, everything will be possible. So what I'm saying is, if you look into goal-wise, and if you look into the component of watershed management, then you will find out that if you have an effective watershed management approach, of if you are able to succeed, then all the goals you will achieve. At least effective watershed management approach will give a pathways for achieving most of the goals of SDGs. So you will see in this table. Let us take an example of goal number 3, good health and well-being. How it is highly related to your watershed management. Because when we talk about, and here in this picture you will find out land restoration. Land restoration means degraded watershed can be restored, right? And take that as an example of watershed management. And that is restoring degraded land, degraded watershed is also one of the important objective of watershed management. When you restore or you manage the watershed very effectively, then it control you, erosion control, soil erosion control, creation of diverse agro-ecosystem, and beautiful landscape, which are not only recreational value, but you will see the functions of those landscape will be ecologically function in a proper way. Then you will find out like wetland conservation, river channel will restoration, urban planning. When we have such kind of thing, you will find out the recovery of ecosystem functioning and services provision. Like you will get food, that's we are talking about in terms of quality and quantity, nutritious food. Then we will have good quality of air and water, and then we will have the proper climate regulation because of that because of that good environment, ecological characteristic, ecological this system, and that ecosystem function because of proper ecosystem function. Then when you have all these things, we will find out that reduce the risks of infectious disease and pest. Thus, in our human health, you will increase, you will get, or your food security and water security will increase because of the health of your ecosystem. You will get clean air and protection from natural disaster, then reduction of diseases caused by pests in the pathogens, and benefits of pharmaceutical, what we can say in traditional way, that medicinal varieties of medicinal plant will be available, and increase physical health and psychological well-being. So what I am saying is, when we have an effective watershed management plan, the benefit we are going to get is, we have repeatedly reflected in the discussion, that it always gives positive environmental, economic, social, institutional impact, that shows that effective watershed management program will give better pathways to in achieving sustainable development goals. Saying this, we'll find out, when we have a proper watershed management, you will be able to achieve all these things. In this schematic diagram, in this picture, you will find out. Okay. Even your conventional planning policy decision for natural resources in different parts of a landscape, means watershed, are siloed in different ministries, discussed with different stakeholders, and by implementing proper watershed management program in an integrated way, then all the different specific ministries, they will be able to coordinate to each other for achieving the goals. Here you will find out, as you know, when you talk about watershed, you talk from the upstream to the coastal area. When we have the particular integrated watershed management program, the ministries of forestry, ministry of transport, water, agriculture, economic development, finance ministry, environment ministry, fisheries, they will work together. So in this session, what we have seen, watershed are the geographical space in which water flows, as well as a subsystem in which driving forces of change manifest: agriculture, industrial development, population growth, climate change, and governance. Therefore, they offer an ideal context for development solution that extend beyond resource governance to providing setting for health, including that of humans, other species, and ecosystem. So, in this session, we have touched upon the watershed management in Indian context, and how watershed management is directly related to your sustainable development, beginning from that Agenda 21, how the world is looking towards an integrated approach of watershed management from sectoral approach to watershed management. And when we have effectively implemented that integrated watershed management program, this has become one of the base pathways to achieve sustainable development goals by 2030. And I have, these are some of the references that the presentation was based on. So this presentation was prepared based on these references. So with this, let us meet in another session. Thank you.